entrepreneurs. So she said, go talk to 50 entrepreneurs, and is all residential property managers, and the second volume is a mixture. Idea of the audience here, how many people are renters? So there's quite a few people out there. People are always going to in one volume or the other. But from California to Virginia, you can get a bachelor's degree in it. And then also people looking to change careers. So that's all I'm going to say about the book. The home buyer tax credit expired April. Those homes are gliding the market. So what does all this mean? A little over 7% on both of those factors for Denver. Pretty favorable compared to the rest of the country. Bottom line, it might be a pretty big, you're going to do the property management, or you're going to have a property management company do it. So this is what we're going to go over for the remaining time. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of owning investment property. We're going to go to it diversifies your investment portfolio, which is your property, which causes you more maintenance fees, repair costs. You might get phone calls any time of day or night. And you might have to manage your property. It looks like most of you have already decided one way or the other, but maybe half dozen to a dozen are still trying to think, you know, should I do it or should I get a property management company? There's an answer on that one.
Can you read it?
So I chose to manage that property myself. We're going to talk later about if you want to find a good property management company. That's one of the questions that you want to ask. And again, that's something that the property management company might do for you. They would do for you. Again, they might not too difficult. Quick screen, and then I narrow it down to a few, and then I do a little bit as an example. Do you have a process? Do you do credit checks? Do you do background checks? That's then a reference that I can really trust. I also take a look at their lease agreements. It's very interesting to look at the lease agreements because this here, typically, I was saying 8 to 10%. In some cases, it could be 6 to 10%. I'm sorry. What do they charge you for filling vacancies? Typically, like I mentioned up here, it's a half to. No matter what you do, was lost. Tenant didn't pay the rent, so I evicted the tenant. My only eviction ever, the property. Okay. Trust me, it was not uninhabitable. They wanted me to pay for and flush the toilet. So those repairs took through the local apartment association. I did file a report with the all three credit agencies indicating that was the question I was going to ask you, not the question I was expecting you to ask me. But they were putting it into a condition so that when the tenant moves in, they go, yes, this place is pretty clean, and that's the condition that you expect them to leave it. You need to decide on your rental terms. Are you going to do a lease? You're going to do month to month? You're going to leave it up to the person that's moving in. Previously, in fact, sometimes they've been going down a little bit, so that's not a big deal. In today's market, we're on a month to month.
Say you start out with somebody, you have them there for a year, and then after that,
Then it goes month to month.
It'll go month to month.
Basically, after that 12-month lease, you need to give them 3 months' notice. It's much better to raise rents slowly, but your property is, and you can just call the landlord and say, hey, how much are you renting this place for? And if you didn't see them online, you can suggest that they advertise in NorthernColoradoRentals.com. Then you need to decide on pet policies. How many people like tenants that have pets? Say pet policy negotiable, they call you up, and you know, maybe they just have a hamster. And I said, well, let me check the number of occupants there are. I have not done that. Has anybody else done that? Talking about some of the paperwork, I'm going to go over that a little bit more. What I do is I actually have a pet. It's something that you need to kind of read up on when it happens to really understand what the laws are. And everybody knows the credit checks. I personally use an online service with a company that's out in California called CreditLink.com, and if you're accepted, this is what's going to happen. And there's some set of rules and regulations and whatever, and so there's typically lots of memos of when the trash is going to get picked up and all that type of stuff. So I